Hey guys,
Hi guys.
welcome back.
Welcome back. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
she's tired. That's
Tired.
that's that's
Yes.
what happens when she's tired, and when we record late at night.
We call it we call it silliness. In Germany you say müdebrüt. It's like when you're
When you're
tired,
tired,
so tired
then you
that you
become
just
silly.
yes, you become silly and do just weird stuff. I don't know if it's that or I drank too much coffee.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. She's popping. Can you see how pretty she looks? How beautiful she looks. And by the
You
way, she cut her hair herself with no
I did.
help, with no salon and anything. Yeah, professional. She
Did
is the stylist in this house. Unfortunately, she cannot style me.
I mean, he, once in a while I cut his hair and tried to
I was styled by God. I woke up like this, you know.
I woke up like this. I woke up like this. Okay, sorry guys.
So
Well,
today we're talking about what?
dating, marriage,
And
sex,
ooh, let's talk about sex, baby.
baby. Let's talk about you and me.
All right.
Okay, sorry
So
guys.
dating, and we'll go right into it. And the first thing we'll talk about is who does the approaching, who goes to who makes
I think we're very different in
the
that
first attempt
part.
in that part. So what do you think?
Well, we grew up, you know, always thinking that the man is gonna propose, not propose, but come around the corner with flowers in his hands and asking he's out and being the one approaching. And that's how I grew up. And like as I grew older, of course, I still believe that it was the man, to be a real man, the man does it. Because that shows like the man, is a real man, has the courage and is brave enough to come and to ask a lady out. And so from my upbringing, that's how I would normally see it. Like, um, yeah, that's how it would be. But now, as I'm older, I also think that who cares? Because in the end of the day, nobody will ask you,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't. It has nothing to do with courage or boldness. If a man comes up to you or not, sometimes it just doesn't work that way. I don't know.
Okay.
How is it for you?
I mean, I also grew up having that mindset of thinking that the man should do the approaching because I mean psychologically speaking, men are psychologically speaking, men are chasers. They like to chase. They like to see what they want and go after it. Um, Almost like goal getters. So mentally, I grew up to understand that the man actually goes for what he wants. When he sees a woman that he likes, like he approaches, I mean, makes the first step or the first move and asks her
Mm.
out. I've heard about different cases of the woman doing the asking, but in my culture, culturally speaking, the man goes asking. And in some traditions, you know, it's it'll be a taboo somehow for the woman to be the one to ask because it makes it look as if the woman is desperate. So somehow the woman is a precious flower or something very precious, and the man comes for the woman. And that's why we also have like the pain of the bride price, or they call it the dowry in some cultures, because it's the man that wants the woman, and so the man has to show a token of appreciation when getting
Mm.
the woman. That's the culture around it.
Mm.
Of course, in the West, it's different. There's
Mm.
no pain or bride price, thank God,
Mm.
because I couldn't
It's the
afford
other
it.
way around, actually. It's mostly the woman's parents that pay a lot.
Yeah, that's what I found, and thank God. I mean, in my case, that was not really the case.
Because us all together putting everything in one pot and then
That's
trying.
not really the case. But technically, yeah, in the Western culture, the parents of the bride, they take care of a lot of stuff.
Way more than from the men's side.
Yeah, there's not a lot of pressure on the men or on the family of the man when it comes to the finances and stuff like that. But I also noticed that in the European culture, the women are quite dominant, sometimes even stronger than the men. It's almost like the men are a bit more, I don't know, timid in comparison to, men like men from Nigeria or African men or like American men. I don't know, different. It's a bit different
Let
in
me
Europe.
tell you off
Um,
a bit of advice. If you want a real man, hey, go and grab a Nigerian man. Go and get that Nigerian juiciness. A real African.
that's
wicked
an
man.
imitation of the Nigerian accent. Before they say that you're saying other men are not real men, you better explain.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, that's what I
indirectly maybe,
noticed.
but yeah.
And to some people, African men come off too strong, especially in the West.
Right,
When you try to approach a woman or approach a lady or whatever, if they do not like you, they can turn that stuff around very bad and be like, yeah, he's too pushy, he's too aggressive in how he approaches. I noticed that that is actually more prevalent in the US than in Europe because the ladies in Europe or in Germany are a bit more, I would say, independent and a bit more, they can handle it more. They can take the aggressiveness or whatever. They don't really care. Like, if they don't want you, they don't want you.
And that's the thing. I'm coming from that part.
Yeah.
We love it because, sorry to say that, I don't know. I wouldn't say that all the Western people or European men are like that. But the ones that I've met, I wasn't dating before, but the ones that I met, I wouldn't say that they're real men. Like, you can't compare them to Nigerians.
Real men in the sense of what?
In like how they approach different things.
Okay.
They're very they back off very easily. They like, you give them a no and they just take it. They don't fight for it. And so they're like really this what makes you very ambitious as a Nigerian or like very, stubborn. They don't really have that. And so like,
I mean, yeah, so they're men, but they possess different traits in comparison to,
I mean, they might have the, I don't know, other stuff, but definitely, like for us, I think for a lot of women that I know, they like that and they really appreciate that the ambition that you guys have.
Yeah, because I had the experience also in the US where, there was a lady who was like, oh yeah, like he's too aggressive, he's too pushy. And for us, like back in Nigeria, like the women, like they don't really care. Like if they don't like you, you can do whatever you want to do. You can talk from now to tomorrow. They can even allow you to spend your money or whatever, and nothing will happen.
Use you.
Nothing will happen, because they can handle it. But in some cultures, they can handle this. You coming trying to chase them, or because for you, you feel okay, it's a chase. They've just been stubborn. Eventually, they'll say yes. But for them, you actually
makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's almost like you're well, how would you put it? Too much or harassing them. They can actually turn it into a harassment claim if they eventually don't fall for you. So if you're an African, Nigerian especially, you guys are very stubborn, and you approach a white person, a white lady, Western lady, wherever, especially in the US or even in Europe, and you don't see a green light at the initial stage, please don't think.
Let go. Let stop.
Please
stop.
Do not.
Red light. Stop.
Do not say, "Oh, she's just been stubborn."
I beg.
She goes.
Stop.
She goes so great. No, you better just cut it.
You better turn around and then let's go into another direction.
Because guess what? If they like you, somehow they will show it and they'll want to be around you very often. It's very obvious. Like they
will seek your attention, seek your presence and stuff like that.
Definitely. Yeah, they'll show it.
That's why I think our case was different, because we both grew up like the man approaching the woman. For us, it was the other way around. It was actually me making the first step in getting to know you.
Yeah.
I mean, with dating, it was you also pushing and saying, "Hey, are we gonna date now or not?" And you give me a limit. But the first move,
the initial step,
was definitely mine. but it was so naive. I was just very
She wasn't thinking about dating. She
I
was
was
just
more like
thinking like, oh, who's this guy, eating by himself? And that wasn't Hawaii. And so that was our first contact, meeting each other. And for her, she was just being friendly. But for me, friendliness was the first step to know if I could be with somebody or not, because if you're not friendly towards you or not even wanting to be around you, then stop trying to fight or push too hard because sadly, as a black person or as a African person in the West, there are a lot of assumptions that could be placed on you trying to get a white woman. So when you're pushing too much, you could be also you could be put in that category of just wanting to get something. That's why you're pushing. So if you don't see any kind of friendliness or them trying to be around you or hang around you or showing that they actually have some interest in you, then be very careful about it. Yeah. But yeah, like she said, she approached me first, but she didn't approach me for dating, just to be friends. And then when I saw some other stuff, and I saw that she loved to be around me, and I liked her, and I wanted to take it further to the next step. Yep. But what would you say? Which would you prefer?
There's no preferring. That's just how it went for us.
No, for like if you were to think back right now and say, okay,
I can't because this is how it went for us.
Yeah.
Somehow. So like thinking back would be somehow regretting in the way that how we met, and I don't regret the way we met. I think it's just how it worked for us, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just also it shows how my heart is. Like if I see somebody eating by himself, like I will always invite that person to table because food always tastes better when you're eating with a lot of other people. So like I'm coming out of that perspective of a generous heart, like a heart that cares for people, and so like I don't regret anything about how we met. Yeah. I think I don't even want to look back and then think about something else because that's how I think it's just how it went for us.
All right.
If you guys have other stories, we'd love to hear from them. By the way.
Yeah. But you have any story of anybody that was that approached like a white or Western person and it was seen as aggressive or?
I mean, yeah, I have both ways. Yeah. I have men approaching a woman, and it's been just too much. Even in my case, I had that Nigerians asking me out, or like other Africans, asking me out, and it was just too much, and I couldn't handle it, because it was just not the right person. Also, it also has to do with is it the right person or not. And for my case, it was just not the right person, and also, I couldn't handle it. I wasn't mature enough to handle it. And so like I also have friends, but I also have the other way around that women were chasing after men and the men were like, it's too much. Like I've heard both stories. But we would love to hear from other people how their relationship started and who chased who first. Would be nice to hear.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Like in my case, like with the number of times that I actually had like friends that were like interracial, they did the approaching because I didn't want to create the stereotypes of saying that this guy just want to go for a white person because he wants to get some kind of document or whatever or whatever he wants to get, So if they like you, like I said, they will show it in how they will even initiate conversations or try to create a scenario where you guys are in the same space or whatever. They might not come to you directly and say, I like you, let's date. But they will initiate some things that will put you in a position where okay, now I can ask, they actually like me. So that's something to have in mind. Yeah. And marriage. What do you guys like? What is the mentality in Europe as regards how long you should date before you get married?
It's different. Very different.
But what's the stereotype?
Like I wouldn't say it's different from every family and how the parents lived it. So in my case, my parents were together on and off for like 3 or 4 years until they got married. And so because they had that experience, it was their standard for everyone else in our family. So my mom was.
But wouldn't you say that's a general thing in Europe?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I know people that have not been, like, they got married very fast. But I also have friends that have been together. I mean, for example, my brother, he's been together with his boyfriend. With his girlfriend. Sorry, guys.
Her brother doesn't have a boyfriend.
No,
he has a girlfriend.
I'm sorry. They've been together for a while, and so it's also like another example. So it can be this or it can be that. It's always different. But I would say, like, because of the experience of your parents mostly, and how they live their dating before marriage life, it mostly reflects, or they put it on you and say, okay, this is the standard. And so in my case, my parents, or my mom, especially my mom, she was like, you have to date for at least 3 years before you get married. And, had that standard. And I was quite shocked when we got married very fast. Because for her, she was also very, she always says she was very insecure. She wasn't that mature and very independent as I was when I met you. So for her, she always says, okay, I was very insecure. I didn't know what I want. And so because of that, and it affected our relationship. That's why it was on and off. So yeah, so it always depends on the parents. But in my case, it was like.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because what I've noticed is that most people, they start dating from when they're in high school, and they date for so long, and then they get married. So it's very common in Europe to see that.
And then sometimes marriage doesn't even work out.
Yeah, that people have been dating for so long, and I discovered that some couples do not even want to get married
at all.
At all, because they think it's gonna just ruin the whole thing. So they rather become like partners, like legal partners, than.
You can have that and then actually you can be partners.
Yeah, than to get married. For me, growing up, I know of people who dated for a while, but it's not very common. Normally, you date, but before you even start dating, unless you're just dating to play around, there are those people that just play around and just say, hey, just dating just to have fun, have sex or whatever. But before you date someone, most times you know if the person is the person you want to marry. And you guys are already aware of that before you start dating. And then it's a very short period of dating, and then you get engaged, and then you get married. So it doesn't take that long. In our case, it was quite fast. And by the way, this year makes it
6 years. Happy anniversary.
6 years of being married. We got married on the
19th
of September 2016. Today is, not today. September 19th was 6 years of marriage. And I'm, grateful to God and glad that we're still together, but not just together just to be together, but, happy together.
Have thriving.
2 beautiful kids.
Beautiful boys.
After that. So, marriage, I would say it should depend on the people involved and whether they think they're ready for it, as regards to timing.
Because, from our conversation, you can already tell that we always try to put in, or make it a focus, that it's about you and the other person. And it's always about, you guys deciding for yourselves, is it the right time, is it not? And, what is good for you guys, because in the end of the day, it's going to be you and your partner living that life. It's not going to be your parents. It's not going to be your in-laws. It's not going to be anybody else. It's going to be the other person. So in our case, it was, we knew what we wanted. And so it was very important to make that clear and to have that in focus. That's our decision. And that's what we want. So yeah.
All right, guys. So we're going to end this video right now, right here. That was part 1. And we'll talk about, in the next video, we'll talk about sex in marriage.
Juicy. The juicy part that everybody wants to hear about.
All right. So, share.
Hit the subscribe button.
Comment.
comment down below. And if you want to follow us during the weeks, we post everything on
TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube stories. So yes, just follow us.
Just follow us on Ebony and Ruth. We love to hear from you guys.
All right. Bye. Bye, and see you next time.